So this next problem involves an application with simple interest. So the first thing we want to remember is that the formula for simple interest is interest equals principal times the rate of interest times the time in years. Another couple things to remember is that our principal, that's just our starting money. And what I mean by starting money is it's the money that we borrow or the money that we invest. This is the rate of interest, and we want that as a decimal. Oftentimes they'll give it to us as a percent, but we have to convert it to a decimal. And the time is always in years. So in this problem it says Daryl has a total of $12,500 in two accounts. One account pays 8% simple interest per year, and the other pays 12% simple interest. If he earned $1,160 in the first year, how much did he invest in each account? Well, it tells us that the total amount he invested was $12,500. So say X was the amount in the first account, plus Y is the amount in the second account, then the total amount of money is $12,500. Well, if we subtract X from both sides, then the money in the second account would equal 12,500 minus X. And this is going to let us set up our let statements, because we know the money in the first account is just X. The money in the second account we can now call 12,500 minus X. So let X equal the amount invested at 8%, and then let 12,500 minus X equal the amount invested at 12%. So now what we want to do is figure out what the interest was on each of these accounts. So I'll make two columns. We'll say 8% and 12%. Now we're going to use the simple interest formula in both cases, so I'll just write it down. Interest equals principal times rate times time. And once again, interest equals principal times rate times time. So our interest equals first the principal. That's the amount invested at 8%. And we've already let X equal the amount invested at 8%. So our principal in this case is X times. R is the rate of interest. The rate of interest is 8%, and as a decimal that's 0.08. Times. Now we want the time in years. Well, it says if he earned $1,160 in the first year. So that's just 1 year. So we've got our formula filled out, and now we just want to clean it up a little bit. So if we do this portion here, 0.08 times 1 is 0.08. So we get 0.08 times X. So there's the first interest at 8%. Now we want to do the interest at 12%. So we get interest equals the principal at 12%. Well, we said let 12,500 minus X equal the amount invested, or the principal, at 12%. So our principal is 12,500 minus X. Our rate is just the rate of interest at 12%, which is 12%, and as a decimal that's 0.12. Times, now the amount of years is the same, so the amount of years is just 1 year. And now we want to clean this up, so it's 12,500 minus X times, and 0.12 times 1 is just 0.12. Now I want to distribute this 0.12, so I'm going to bring it to the front. Interest equals 0.12 times 12,500 minus x. And now I'm going to distribute that 12 to both terms inside parentheses. And to do that, we're probably going to want a calculator. So when we do 0.12 times 12,500, we get 1,500. Minus, and then it's 0.12x. And generally speaking, we'd like the variable term in front, so I'll do my addition of the opposite. So the interest is negative 0.12x plus 1,500. So now I know what the interest was at 8%, I know what the interest was at 12%, and I also know up here that the total interest was 1,160. So if I add the first interest here to the second interest here, then I'm going to get a total of 1,160. So that's what I'm going to do. 0.08x plus negative 0.12x plus 1,500 equals our total interest of $1,160. Once again, I always put my numbers in parentheses since 0.12x plus is an amount of interest. I put it in parentheses, but if you'll notice right here, there's nothing to distribute. So I can drop those parentheses, 0.08x plus negative 0.12x plus 1,500 equals 1,160. Now we combine our like terms. 0.08 plus negative 0.12 is going to give me negative 0.04x plus 1,500 equals 1,160. Now I can subtract 1,500 from both sides. That's going to give me negative 0.04x equals. Now when I use my calculator and I do 1,160 minus 1,500, that gives me negative 340. Next step, since it says negative 0.04 times x, that means I have to divide by negative 0.04 on both sides. And I'm going to get x equals. Now, in the calculator, I do negative 340 divided by negative 0.04, and that gives me a total of $8,500. And remember that x, if we go back up to the top, that's the amount invested at 8%. So I'll say 8,500 at 8%. To figure out the amount invested at 12%, well, if we look right at our let statement, it's going to be 12,500 minus x. So that's 12,500 minus 8,500, which gives me a total of $4,000 at 12%. I'm done.